This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, DYT Nation, Jeff Walter here with you. Welcome to the show. We got a great Thursday show. It's gonna be a great show. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We've got Anderson Cooper interviewing the obviously insane mayor of Las Vegas. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. Oh, we're gonna have fun with that. Then we're gonna talk about how the president has basically kneecapped one of his biggest supporters. That's fun. We've got an insane idea from one of Donald Trump's economic advisors on how we can safely get people back to work. You're not going to believe this suggestion. I know I sound like an Upworthy article, but seriously, you are absolutely not going to believe this. It's hilarious and stupid. All right. Because, of course, it has to be stupid. It's coming out of the Trump administration. Republicans, man, like, I'm serious. They are so desperate to get people back to work. And there's, of course, a reason for that, and I'll explain. We've got rich people doing their own chores. How much do they hate it? We'll look into it. And then we've got, of course, Nikki Haley telling states, yes, you know, it would be great if they all go bankrupt. Amazing. A little bit of hypocrisy there. We've got Republican hypocrisy. Quick note as well. Insane Clown Posse. Apparently more responsible than Republican governors. Something that I would never, ever say. I mean, really. It's Insane Clown Posse. And for those who don't know, they're the very strange rap group, right? There's really no quick way to summarize them, but that's the best that I can do. And they have canceled their get-together citing COVID-19. And here we have that alongside news that we've got Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina that are starting to open up. So we literally have insane clowns that are being more responsible for their own people than the governors of several states. Nobody would have known that this could have happened. Nobody could see this. No, if you told me back in 2016, like, all right, so here's what's going to happen. Or if you told me back in like 2015, 2012, whatever, right? Donald Trump's going to be president. We're going to have a pandemic, but don't worry. The juggalos have got you, all right? The juggalos are going to be more responsible for people's health than the governors of several states. I mean, like, what are you smoking? What is wrong with you? Now, apparently, What is wrong with the world? Basically, I think that's the question we are all asking. Whoever's running this damn simulation, you were like, you got to reset it, man, because things have gone crazy. Reset the algorithm in the matrix. All right. Because boy, are things really messed up. All right. Anyway. Yeah, the most reasonable people in the room, Insane Clown Posse. All right. So with insanity in mind, let's head to the first story.
So you don't believe there should be any social distancing? You don't believe that this is
Of course I believe there should be. Of course.
Okay, how do you do that in a casino?
That's up to them to figure out.
That's up to them to figure out. That was Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman saying that, hey, you know what we should do would be a great idea. Let's open up Vegas. Let's open up all the casinos, right, and get all those people packed into there and playing the one-armed bandits and let the casinos figure out how to make it safe. Oh, because it's a fantastic idea. I mean, if you're pro-coronavirus, then yes, that's a fantastic idea. If you want it to spread. I mean, sure, let's just let the companies do whatever they want, self-regulate, and that will, of course, always turn out well. Because we have a long history of having this happen. So now let me give you more context here. Because the interview ran for quite some time. I wish I could show you everything that she said, because it was just one insane thing after another. But I did put together a couple of more clips here. And so let's dive into what she would do if she were the owner, if she were a business owner in Vegas. Let's take a look.
I don't own a casino. I don't know anything
Wait
about building
a minute. I'm sorry. You're the mayor of Las Vegas, and
Yes.
you want casinos to be open, even though you have no authority, thankfully,
Yes.
over casinos. But
Yes.
you say open them up, but you have no responsibility about how that would be done safely?
No, you're blurring. No, you're blurring.
You said it's not your
going
job.
There. I am not a private owner of a hotel. I wish I were. And I would have the cleanest hotel with 6 feet figured out for every human being comes in there.
If you can't figure out how to do this safely, why, as mayor of a city that you were responsible for the people's safety, are you calling for something that you have no plan for how it would be done safely?
I am not a private owner. That's the competition in this country, the free enterprise, and to be able to make sure that what you offer the public meets the needs of the public. Right now, we're in a crisis health-wise, and so for a restaurant to be open or a small boutique to be open, they better figure it out. That's their job. That's not the mayor's job.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. But I just want to go back to when she says, well, look, I'm not a private. I wish I were a private owner. Well, then what's stopping you? Why the hell are you the mayor of Vegas? Go start a hotel chain. Obviously, as she just mentioned, it would be the safest and the cleanest hotel we've ever seen. And notice how Trumpian that is. It would be the safest. It would be the cleanest. We would figure out 6 feet. We would do that. But I'm not going to do that as the mayor. Then why are you mayor? And I know I did that whole thing with the Trump voice, but that's exactly what she sounds like. It's just the same kind of idiotic nonsense that we see from Donald Trump, the entire thing. And of course, look, she also mentioned, and this is the conservative mindset, right? Hey, look, the free market's going to take care of it. And so it's not a problem. I'm going to open up. I'm going to let them open up. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. Let them self-regulate, and they'll figure things out. And if something bad happens at one of them, well, they'll close down. The free market will take care of that. Except that it never happens that way. No, what's going to happen is they're going to open up, and then in about 2 weeks, maybe a little longer, maybe a little sooner, there will be a gigantic explosion at probably all of the major casinos. And then she's going to come out later. She'll be like, I had no idea that any of this was ever going to happen. Oh my God. I didn't know the virus could spread this fast. Oh my God. We need some help. Oh, but you could have known if you'd actually do your job. And what is your job? Your job is to protect the citizenry. Your job is to protect the public. The job of a corporation is not to look after the public. That's not their job. No, corporation's job is to make money. That's it. It's not to keep their workers safe. I know. I'm like blowing some heads here. Like heads are exploding, right? Because what are you talking about? No, they're an employee. Of course their job is supposed to look after the. No, it's not. No, a corporation's fiduciary responsibility is to maximize profit for shareholders. That's the job of a corporation. That's literally what they're created for, is to maximize profit. The job of the government is to create rules and enforce those rules so that corporations, can keep the citizens safe while they're at work. And so they send the rules down to the companies. The companies must adopt those rules, and then the government must enforce those rules. That's the point of having government. If the government's not doing that, then why does government exist in the first place? These conservatives have no idea why government should even be there. I guess that's why they keep wanting to get rid of it, because they don't know what it's supposed to do. And they think, oh no, corporations can do this all on their own. No, they can't. And if you leave it up to the company, and this is the problem, right, with this entire mindset, you leave it up to the company, what are they going to do? They're going to cut corners. They're going to save money. That's the whole point. Again, to save money, to cut corners, to do whatever they need to do to maximize profit. And if that compromises safety, well, I mean, that's your problem, right? I guess the market will shut that whole thing down. No, you need government to enforce and set rules. You need the mayor to actually do her freaking job. And look, okay, anyway. So now I'm going to show you one more video, and this is also insane. Because if it's not, the whole thing already wasn't crazy, she gets worse because of how horribly wrong she is. Take a look.
No, I'm not
We're
talking.
back to China. This isn't China.
Yeah.
This is Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow. Okay, that's really ignorant. This is a restaurant, and the
That's
yellow
ignorant
circle.
to say
That's an ignorant statement. That's a restaurant, and yes, it's in China, but there are human beings too. That yellow is a person who is asymptomatic and infected, and all those other red circles are other diners who that one diner passed the virus to. All those other people became infected in a restaurant that had air conditioning, and they believe it was the air conditioning which helped the virus spread to all those other people.
You remember the Legionnaire's disease in 1976 in Philadelphia came all through the air conditioning. You don't remember because you're younger.
I do remember.
Typhoid Mary. We're aware of this. We learned from history. Right. We've had Ebola. We've had the West Nile. We've had polio. We've had these horrific,
none of those were as
painful.
Infectious in Las Vegas. I mean, you didn't have people with Ebola on a casino floor. You know what? If you did,
well, we don't know that.
Well, yeah, you do, because if you had it,
neighbor.
Okay, so no, she goes into talking about her neighbor, right? Well, my neighbor died of West Nile because some idiot wouldn't, moved out and it didn't drain their pool. So it's totally the same thing as coronavirus, except it's not. I also love the first part. No, we don't live in China. Dude, he's trying to show you facts. The fact that how fast that this can spread in restaurants. Who cares if it's in China? The whole point is to prevent that from happening here by not opening up restaurants, to show how fast and efficient this virus is, right? But no, China, whereas Anderson Cooper has to go and remind her, those are actual human beings as well, right? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, they're human beings. But again, to Ebola, right? So now Ebola is very deadly, right? We know that. More deadly than coronavirus, sure. The problem is, with making that comparison, Ebola is not as easy to spread, right? It's not quite as easy to get Ebola as it is with coronavirus, which again is an incredibly virulent, incredibly efficient, and contagious pathogen, right? A totally contagious virus. Again, it stays on surfaces for quite some time, and it's spread through respiratory droplets. Now, that can stay in the air for a short period of time and can be spread through, as Anderson Cooper mentioned, through air conditioning systems, recycled air. So if you're in a confined space and you're in a closed space and you're not doing, or even if you're doing social distancing, by the way, but you're still breathing in air from somebody who is asymptomatic and infected, well, then you can become infected. The whole room can become infected fairly easily and then spread it to other places. That's just how it works. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so it's not the same at all. Not to mention, you know, casino, you're going to have a lot of people touching a lot of different surfaces constantly. And so that's a huge problem. But all Goodman shows is that she is a deeply ignorant person. As Anderson Cooper said, that is an ignorant statement because she's an ignorant person. And I actually do think Anderson Cooper did an excellent interview here because he let her have it. He was done with all this misinformation and all this downright garbage. But here's the thing. They want this to reopen so badly. It's not just because, business, right? Well, yes, you do want business. You want people to go back to work. Okay. But you want them to go back and you want them to go back safely. If you're a mayor, that's what you should want. Like, yes, I want people to go back to work. I want the economy to recover, but we need to do it at a time frame of where we have reduced or eliminated the risk of transmitting COVID-19, right? This very virulent pathogen. That's what we should want to do. Their priorities now are, no, I'm not making money anymore, right? My donors aren't making money anymore, so I'm not getting money from them. And we really want to stop paying out unemployment benefits. We want to get people back to work so we don't have to pay for them anymore. And so, yes, let's get people back. Let's get people back because it's a win as soon as we get people back to work. Because you know what? I don't really care if people die. And that's it. I mean, they're gross people. Throwing away some of the lives of their constituents, right? Just to get the profit rolling back in is gross. Is absolutely gross. It's sick. And by the way, she also called Cooper an alarmist. Where have we heard that before? Oh, right. Climate change. Oh, you're being an alarmist again. God, why you got to be such an alarmist? It's not a big deal. It's just a virus. I mean, West Nile and Ebola and all that. I mean, God, man, these are incredibly stupid, gross people. And they're in power. All right. Moving on here. Let's go to the next story. It doesn't get better from here. That's for sure. All right.
I told the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, that I disagree strongly with his decision to open certain facilities which are in violation of the Phase 1 guidelines for the incredible people of Georgia. They're incredible people. I love those people. They're great. At the same time, he must do what he thinks is right. I want him to do what he thinks is right. But I disagree with him on what he's doing, what I want to let the governors do. Now, if I see something totally egregious, totally out of line, I'll do. But I think spas and beauty salons and tattoo parlors and barbershops in Phase 1, we're going to have Phase 2 very soon, is just too soon. I think it's too soon. And I love the people. I love those people that use all of those things, the spas and the beauty parlors and barbershops, tattoo parlors. I love them. But they can wait a little bit longer, just a little bit, not much, because safety has to predominate. We have to have that.
We have to have that. Did I mention how much I love the people that use tattoo parlors? I love them. They're great people, but they just have to wait just a little bit longer. Brian Kemp, I agree with what you're doing, but I don't strongly. Okay, really? That was obviously President Trump basically putting out two different messages, right, about Georgia. And Governor Brian Kemp's plan, of course, to reopen his state's economy. Now, on Monday, Kemp announced Georgia would allow nail salons, massage therapists, bowling alleys, and gyms to open on Friday. In-person church services will resume on obviously on Sundays, and restaurants and movie theaters can open on Monday. His orders also bar cities from imposing their own restrictions on businesses. So, hey, man, local government, if you want to restrict your restaurant, you can't do that. No, we're not going to allow you to do that at all. Now, here's the problem with that. So they say, well, look, we're going to open them up, but we're going to have social distancing guidelines. Okay, well, how are you supposed to get a haircut if you're going to need to stay 6 feet away from someone else? That doesn't make any sense. At nail salon, same thing. Tattoo parlor. You're going to get a tattoo from 6 feet away? How? How's that going to work? It doesn't. It doesn't work. Now, restaurants, again, have an issue with circulated air spreading the virus through the entire building. So that's another problem with sit-in restaurants. That's why right now, of course, if you're going to open up, your restaurant, if you're currently closed, okay, well, you can still do curbside service. That's safer. That's a safer alternative, or drive-through services if available, right? But not dine in. And that's what they're saying. Oh, no, go ahead and dine in the restaurant. Which is why you have restaurants in Georgia saying, no, we're not going to do that. I don't think I will. We're going to wait until the scientists say that it is time to open back up, that we've seen a significant drop in cases. So the guidelines, of course, are ridiculous. You have medical experts that are saying Kemp is moving too quickly. He needs to slow it down a little bit so that we can slow down the spread of the virus. And so they're absolutely right. If you're going to open up by Friday, well, that's dangerous. Not only that, but if you're going to open up by May 1st, that's also not quite enough time. Now, that said, we could have opened up sooner. And I do want to open up as soon as it's safe to do so. We could have done that had we followed the South Korea model, which immediately, aggressively began testing as many people as possible. So you test as many people as possible, and then you isolate the people who have the virus and get them to quarantine. Then you can start to get healthy people back out. Great. And you can do that on a good timetable. Look, you have places that have also done aggressive testing. You've got Germany that's starting to open up slowly. And so these are countries that did take this seriously, at least more seriously than the United States has, which, if you can remember, President Trump was like, oh, it'll disappear. It'll disappear like it's like magic. It'll be gone by April. It'll be immediately as soon as it gets warm. Really? It's warm in southern states, and yet it seems to be taking off quite a bit. In Georgia, there's over 20,000 cases and rising. Again, we don't really necessarily know how many people have it because we still don't have enough testing. Testing. And we still need to ramp that up. And until we do, we don't know who has it. And so we don't know who trace contacts are. And we don't know who to quarantine so that everyone else can go out and be safe and not spread this around. So that's the problem. That's a failure with the entire administration. So now with that out of the way, let's get to how Donald Trump is, of course, being Donald Trump and how he just shamelessly kneecapped Brian Kemp. Again, I love the people. They've been very strong, but I disagree. I don't think that we should open up yet, even though I think we should open up really soon so you don't have to wait that long, but you need to wait a little longer. But you should do what you're going to do. In Georgia, I said you could do what you want to do, but I don't agree very strongly. He says that, right? And look, his administration released an excellent 3-tiered plan, right? Which had some very good criteria on when states should be able to open up. And you, of course, you have to see aggressive testing, and you also have to see a significant 2-week drop in new coronavirus cases. Georgia does not have either of those. They have not fit any of those requirements. And so Trump coming out and saying, well, obviously they're not ready to do so. Okay, that's true. That is true. But on the other hand, while he's saying this, he's also on Twitter saying, oh, you know what we should do? We should liberate the states. You need to liberate Michigan. You need to liberate Pennsylvania. Let's liberate the state. But okay, wait. He's also supported the protesters who want to open up the states right now, despite the risk, because these people apparently want haircuts. Now, I'm not going to go after the protesters who are really worried about their jobs, right? Who have no income coming in, right? Those who, have lost their careers. They've been trying to get through this unemployment insurance. And of course, there are systems in Florida and many other states that are overworked, right? That are not able to process their claims. So these people are running out of money. These are people in desperate situations. If you want to protest here at that point, you are 100% able to do so without any sort of condemnation, because I understand, right? You are desperate. You are not getting the help that you need because of broken state systems. And of course, that $1,200 check that can get intercepted and stolen by your banks, that's a slap in the face. It's insult. So I understand those people, right? But if you're a business owner, you're out there protesting because, well, you just want people to come back to work so they can start making you more money. Well, okay, I have a problem with that. But now, that said, how can he say that he doesn't agree when the state decides to open up too soon, when that's exactly what he had also been calling for on Twitter? Well, it's because he wants it both ways. He wants to have it both ways, as always. He's going to A/B test his audience, and that's what he does, right? He A/B tests his audience. He says one thing, and then it says the complete opposite, sometimes even in the same sentence. And then, of course, goes with what is more popular, or he tailors his message to the person he's talking to. And then when he's talking to somebody different, completely different message, right? And so when it comes to the stay-at-home measures, most Americans agree. Over 80% of Americans, 81%, agree with the stay-at-home orders, even if it causes harm to the economy, right? Because they know that this is a serious virus and that, yes, it is necessary to stay at home, to do social distancing so that we can beat the virus and then we can all get back to work, right? We can all get back to our lives. Now, at the same time, his base is incredibly agitated. And by base, I mean mainly donors. They're very agitated. And they say, no, we got to get people back to work because I'm losing money and I can't lose money. So that's really kind of the explanation of, why, or one of the explanations of why they want people to get back to work, of course, because it all comes down to the donors. It all comes down to the stock market. People have lost too much in the stock market, and I can't handle that. So, yes, let's get everybody back to work because guess what? Turns out I don't make the wealth. They do. My workers do. Who knew? But the best part, of course, about this entire thing is the shivving of Brian Kemp right in the back. Because according to a source, Trump and Pence had called Brian Kemp on Tuesday night and had expressed both support and praise for the Republican governor's move to reopen businesses on Friday. So they literally called him up and said, I think what you're doing is tremendous. Brian, I think your move to reopen the state is tremendous. I think it's great. You did everything that you needed to do, and I fully support you. Me and Mike Pence, my friend.
Mike Pounds.
Yeah, we support you 100%. And then the next day, come out and said, I don't support you 100%. I don't agree with you, but do what you're going to do. Hilarious. In fact, Trump also complimented Pence on his performance as Georgia governor, according to a source. And another person familiar with the call said the call overall went well. But again, you saw the very next day, I strongly contradict what you just did. You would think that people would learn not to trust Donald Trump when he says something. But I'm expecting Kemp to learn a more devastating lesson. Because I think in about 2 weeks or so, unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but usually I tend to be right about these things because I'm good at foretelling disaster. I did, after all, correctly note that Donald Trump was going to win the election. And so I'm pretty good on track records of disaster. And I'm seeing that possibly in about 2 weeks or so, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, and any of the states that are opening up too soon, are going to end up becoming new infection hotspots. And then, of course, they're going to spread that infection right back out to the coasts. And so we're either going to have to do two things: close up again and cause more harm for the economy for longer, or accept that, and this is the worst part, that lots and lots of people are going to die. And unfortunately, I can see the Republican governors choosing the second one because, as far as lives go, I don't think they're pro-life at all. All right. All right. We'll do one more here. Before we take a break. With Republicans increasingly wanted to reopen the country's economic, let me start that again here. With Republicans eagerly wanting to reopen the state's economies and the country's economy, despite experts warning that, of course, it's too soon, one Trump advisor has decided he wanted to think out of the box. So now this is conservative economist Stephen Moore, and he was interviewed by the New York Times, and it quickly goes off the rails here. And he says that he's been advising the president to call for an end to the statewide lockdowns, arguing that the economic recovery could come by the end of the summer. I think that's already we've had too much damage to the economies in the state because of this lockdown. And I think if you lift it further, if you lift it too early, you're going to end up having further damage to the economy because, dead people don't buy things. People who are sick, people who have gigantic medical bills from getting sick from COVID-19 and spending time in the hospital, getting charged $75,000 for a visit. Well, they're not going to exactly be in a position to spend money either. So you're going to have huge economic issues no matter what, right? But nonetheless, Moore says this: for the good of the country, we really have to get things opened. I said, Mr. President, if you can get the economy open by May 1st, and right from that date, and by the way, that of course means that some states will open and others won't, that you could possibly see this recovery by the end of the summer. And we can really get through this. Very, very optimistic. The Times also noted that Moore understands that some states are more prepared than others to ease their social distancing restrictions. But he is confident that distancing won't be necessary to halt the spread of the coronavirus. Well, now, wait a minute. Social distancing, washing your hands. Look, if we don't have a treatment for coronavirus or a vaccine, then we really can't not do the social distancing. However, Moore says, no, we've got other plans to do this. In fact, he said we can use really good public safety measures. Social distancing the workforce. Notice how he yells like, we don't need social distancing, but we need to social distance the workforce. Doesn't make any sense. Disinfectants everywhere and masks. Now the question, of course, is who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for that? They never answer that. And look, here's the thing. You want to social distance the workforce? Well, that's not really possible in some jobs, in certain jobs. Hair salons, for example, tattoo parlors, right? Massage parlors, restaurants. Really difficult to do that. All right? Really difficult to social distance in those jobs. And so maybe with that in mind, he decides to drop this very interesting idea. Quote, I was just thinking this morning, and this is just kind of a thought experiment because I was thinking about this. He put a lot of thought into this, apparently. Why don't we just put everyone in a space outfit or something like that? No, seriously, he has to go back and say, no, I'm serious about this. Spacesuits, guys. Spacesuits. The best people. Now, he also admits, laughing, I know we don't have space outfits. I mean, just thinking out loud, and maybe this is a crazy idea. Really? But instead of just locking down the economy, putting everyone in a kind of, you're right, you have to make 200 million of these, but it wouldn't have cost 3 trillion to do that. And you can have for months people just walking around in these kind of, I mean, I was looking online and there's all these kind of suits that they're building now that you're not exposed and your breath kind of ventilator, and then he just kind of trails off. Like already, that was an insane paragraph. All direct quotes from New York Times. Trails off. Kind of ventilator and things. And I was looking online. Were you looking at Wish? Because, if you're going to order from Wish, be prepared to be disappointed. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. What? Again, I'm sure at some point when he started trailing off, that he realized that he was saying something completely stupid. I mean, he had to have. He had to have. But look, okay, dummy. Everybody's walking around with spacesuits now, right? Somehow, because somehow we pulled that money out of thin air and manufactured 200 spacesuits by May 1st, or 200 million spacesuits by May 1st, which is impossible. But okay, you got a spacesuit on. You want to get a haircut. Oops, how are you going to get a haircut with a spacesuit on, dummy? How's that going to happen? How are you going to eat in at a restaurant if you're wearing a freaking spacesuit? Oh, you're going to open the front? Well, then you just defeated the entire purpose of the freaking spacesuit. What is wrong with you? How stupid are you? And that's just a practical issue. How are you going to get all the suits? What are you going to ask the Space Force? Oh, at Space Force, we're going to borrow 200 million suits. Well, we don't have 200 million suits. Well, yeah, better get cracking. Really? We can't even ensure that every nurse and doctor in a hospital has an N95 mask, which is a hell of a lot cheaper, by the way, than a spacesuit. But somehow, we are going to somehow design in America and pull, 200 million, that's his numbers, not mine, spacesuits. We're going to pull those out of our ass in time for May 1st to reopen the economy. Are you kidding me? How is this man in government? How does this man tie his shoes in the morning? Man, I was just having this crazy thought, and it's really crazy, right? Spacesuits. Look, I realized 420 was 3 days ago. Maybe that's. Let me tell you, man. Spacesuits. What? How? This man is an economic advisor to Donald Trump. What a deeply unintelligent man. Deeply unintelligent. Here's what we should do. We should socially distance for a couple of months and aggressively increase testing while sending every American $2,000 a month for the next 3 or 4 months. That's it. That's what you do. That would actually be cheaper in the long run than this crazy idea, than your stupid spacesuits. But here's the thing. The reason they so badly want to reopen the economy is, yes, because they're losing money, right? They're losing money because, guess what? People like this guy, Stephen Moore, are, generally the wealthy class, right? They're the business class. Top 10%, even top 1%. That top 1% relies on the labor of the 99% in order to generate profit. Because guess what? Without us, they're literally nothing. They don't make money. We make their money for them. And then we get screwed over, right? So that's what happens. And so they're so desperate to get us back to work. They don't want us to, sit and draw unemployment for a couple of months. That's a scary situation for them. They hate that. They're like, oh, how we're just going to give them free money? Oh, no, I hate it. No, get back to work. I know, spacesuits. So now you can get back to work. We create the wealth. We are the heart of America, the workers. They sit there and they siphon it off for themselves. That's how the economy really works. And people like this are afraid that the rest of us are going to catch on. Like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Turns out our labor is actually worth a lot more than they say it was. Maybe we should do something about that. All right. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back. We got rich people doing their own chores. That's fun. Stay right here. Please, super chats, like and share the stream, and we'll be right back around the nation.
Mike Pounds.
Welcome back to the show. Around the nation right here, TRT Nation. Jeff Waller here with you. I think I had a little bit too much fun in that story, but again, if you can't laugh, you would cry. All right, anyway. So have a super chat here from Goku Lamborghini. Said that my spacesuit would have to look like a Mandalorian. This is a way. This is the way, indeed. All right, so let's get some patrons here. So we're at 380 patrons. We're doing a patron drive to try to support the show, to have us be able to continue to do the show. It's that important. So we're at 380 patrons. So I also want to thank people who have stepped up their patronage as well. So a shout out to Sven Reldell, one of our original patrons, now giving a substantial amount. So if you can do that, that would be amazing. But if you can't, I understand things are incredibly difficult right now. Always make sure to take care of you and yours first, and your family. And if you've got anything left over, please help us out if you can. All right. So again, I want to thank these brand new patrons here. So I want to thank Rodney Womack. I might have already thanked you, but thank you again for being a patron. I want to thank Jordan Miller. So Jordan Miller, definitely a new person here. So thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Rodney, for signing up. Patreon.com/TYTNation. Let's get us to 400 patrons by the end of the month. I hope we can do it. Then we've got channel memberships here. That's also growing. So thank you. I want to thank Tammy Classell and Lorna Morgan for signing up. That's channel memberships. Hit the join button below if you want to be a member and support the show. All right. That said, let's dive into the last couple of stories. Oh, sorry. David Richardson says, for me to be living in a country with actual competent leaders, no spacesuits needed. Yes. You do have competent leaders. I believe New Zealand is actually handling this with actually quite well compared to a lot of other countries. So, and thank you, Eldridge. All right, let's move on. Turns out the upper crust of society is now finding out the hard way just how easy they had it. Now, because of coronavirus, many wealthy people have been obviously staying home because of these stay-at-home orders, but so has their help. So their housekeepers, their cooks, their maids, all that help around the house is no longer there. Now, you also had, for example, Fox News, Ainsley Earhart complaining about her au pair, which of course is her babysitter. In fact, I want to show you that real quick. Talked about that the other day, but here's this.
I told the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, that I disagree.
That's not the right clip. That is the wrong clip. Let me see if this is the right one.
All of our lives. 6 o'clock hour, you were talking about the farmers, and farmers here, many of them are here on work visas. Many families here, including mine, we have au pairs, and we rely on them. I go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I need her there, and I need her in my house so that she can help me with my daughter. So many families rely on childcare from other countries. These au pairs come here on work visas. They have to go back to their country to get the visas renewed, and we've been talking in my house about how that's going to happen. So these are all things, these are questions that we have that hopefully the president will roll out a plan, and we'll all be informed on how this is going to affect all of our lives.
Oh, my au pair. I hope President Trump addresses my au pair. How dare me have to spend time with my children. Okay. You know what? President Trump actually did make an exception for au pairs. Because of course. So now, I know, there's all this shock and horror about rich people having to do their own household things. So much, of course, that, again, you had the au pair have a special carve-out from President Trump's immigration order. But there are others. The New York Post actually interviewed quite a few of them. And the first is dermatologist Kenneth Mark. So now, not quite as wealthy as any of the Fox News hosts, but very wealthy dermatologist, doing very good for himself. That's excellent. And so, you know, he does Botox injections and things like that, cosmetic surgery. And well, now he finds himself at home without his housekeeper of 20 years. So this housekeeper not only takes care of, you know, the things around the house as they're supposed to. Mark tells the Post that she, quote, really takes care of everything. In fact, he just had his first son that was born last year. And so she's also a nanny. In fact, she cleans the house, watches the baby. She's almost like the house manager, cleaning lady and nanny, all rolled into one. And so everything was fantastic for him, going really great until we had this coronavirus. Now, Mark, and I got to give him some credit for this. He says, quote, it was unfair to ask her to come in, says Mark, who splits his time between Murray Hill and the Hamptons. From a medical perspective, it was potentially dangerous for her and us. All right. And look, again, you got some credit here for needlessly not exposing his housekeeper and also still keeping her on payroll. So that's important, right? And I got to point out when good things happen, when people make good decisions. In this case, he's still paying his housekeeper, even though his housekeeper is safely, of course, staying in her own home. So again, to be fair, right? Now, credit where credit is due. So now here comes the fun part. Well, apparently he had no idea how much work she actually does. In fact, he says, quote, it's been a complete shock to our normal everyday day-to-day life. I'm doing way more than I would under normal circumstances. Well, no kidding. That housekeeper was literally doing everything. So yeah, you're going to be doing more than you would under normal circumstances. I'm just saying. And look, I'm not saying that he doesn't work. Of course, he's does those Botox injections and things like that, and actually does have a day job. But at the same time, he's finding out how difficult it is to actually be able to do your own chores. Now, before I go further, just thinking about the people who not only have to work sometimes 2, maybe 3 jobs to survive, but also to come home and not be able to afford a nanny or a housekeeper and to actually have to do your own chores. That's the day-to-day reality for millions and millions of Americans, the 99%. And so just, think about that for a second. If you're a very wealthy person that's watching. All right. So now there are others who have spoken up. This is Seth MacFarlane, and he was recently on an episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. He said this, quote, "You want to talk about the great equalizer? People like us take things for granted." Really? Yeah, you do. We take our housekeepers for granted. Things like laundry and changing the cat box, even figuring out how to do floors. My God, it's a hell of a lot harder than making TV. Another person, Philip Scheinfeld, broker at Compass, who grew up in a prominent Upper East Side building, said this: "That stay-at-home mom who was a housekeeper and chef has had to let them go. Now they're doing the diapers, putting the kids to sleep, and making dinner." I know, how horrible is it? You got to actually take care of your kid. I'm sure Bravo would love to start filming these ladies. It would make for a great show. No, you know what it would be? It would be a fail compilation. Oh, imagine, right? I'd probably sit down to watch this rich lady fail at doing laundry. Oh, look at that. She set it on fire. How do you do that? How do you set your clothes on fire? On accident. Wow. No, that would be amazing. Hilarious. And let me give you an example of how it would be a failed compilation. A Fifth Avenue doctor who decided to work from her office without employees to maintain a semblance of normality, right? She said she discovered on day one just how helpless she was without her team of 5 assistants. Quote, "I didn't even know where to put the trash. Usually the garbage is collected by my staff and they put it somewhere. I still don't know where that is." You don't know where to put the trash. It's called a dumpster. You put garbage in it. I'm just imagining that there's a side room in this woman's office that is filled with trash bags, or will be filled with trash bags. Now, her solution, by the way, to this wasn't to figure things out on her own. No. No, it's to deputize her husband. Really? Yes, she bribed him with luxury medical treatments such as Botox and M-Sculpt. Hey, babe, you know that Botox you wanted to get? I'm going to give it to you for free if you come work in my office. What? Okay. Look, I don't even know what M-Sculpt is. And so, not a beauty expert here. Not a lot of money here. I'm just saying. But she said, "My husband is taking care of all the miscellaneous tasks, like answering phone calls, dropping off product orders at the post office, cleaning, and even gets my lunch for me. Husband of the year." But says, "I really had to coax him, but he's earning his keep." Oh. Now, there was another person, a person that's quoted in this, right? And this is somebody who's remained anonymous, right? And talks about how her daughter grew up in the lap of luxury and has never had to do a damn thing for her life, a day in her life, right? In fact, she had always had assistance and help, right? So now the kids don't have that help anymore, and they're struggling. In fact, this Upper East Side mother says, "My daughter's having to do everything for the first time in her entire life. She's always had daily help, and of course, that turns out to be a mess." In fact, she's quoted as saying, "She just texted me and said, 'Do you know if mustard and pickles go into the refrigerator?'" Imagine not knowing the simple things. This is how much they rely on working class folks. Understand the masks are all off now. I mean, this should be a wake up. Turns out we actually need our help. Yeah. And we've been taking advantage of that help, and we've been taking people for granted. The workers. Hey, you need us. You need us workers. We're the actual backbone of America. That means, what are you? Right? No Fortune 500 billionaire is getting us through this. No, it's the grocery store workers. It's the truck drivers. It's the people that are working in fast food right now that are keeping you fed. These are the people, look, there's a reason they're called essential. Whereas the wealthy, not essential. No, we're essential to them. They extract the resources and wealth from us and our help. And now they're starting to realize that without us, without the working class, they're a mess. They're a disaster and can't function. Just like it turns out, the economy. It's the opposite of Atlas Shrugged. Because it turns out, the whole plot of Atlas Shrugged is, well, the rich people decided they were going to leave society and society falls apart. It's the opposite. No, if all the working class, if we left, the rich would have no idea what to do. And they would fall apart at the seams. Complete and utter anarchy. Take that lesson to heart. All right, moving on. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is getting some pushback for supporting Senator Mitch McConnell's plan to let governments go bankrupt. So now this is amid the coronavirus pandemic, and Mitch McConnell, when he was talking to radio host Hugh Hewitt, said, you know what, I'd be okay if the states went bankrupt. Quote, I would certainly be in favor of allowing states to use the bankruptcy route. It saves some cities, and there's no good reason for it not to be available. Now, this is in response, of course, to states showing a gigantic loss of revenue. Why? It's because right now we have stay-at-home orders, which means people can't work. They can't really pay taxes, sales taxes, and other things that come in. And so if you're not getting tax revenue, then you're really not giving revenue, but you're spending money to combat coronavirus. Yeah, you're going to go bankrupt, and you're going to need a bailout. And Mitch McConnell says, no bailouts, no more bailouts. We're going to bail out corporations, but we're not going to bail out the states. So understand the federal government is supposed to, in times of crisis, which we have a crisis, a pandemic, which is not the same as like, oh, business as usual. And, oh, that state's been really irresponsible, like Kansas, for example. And now, they've had to cut, since they cut taxes for the rich so much that they weren't getting enough revenue to properly fund their schools. They were funding them below constitutional limits. Well, and they couldn't afford to do that, right? So they were in a little bit of a fiscal problem, right? And asking for a bailout. Well, the government can understandably say, no, we're not going to bail you out. Why don't you just raise taxes on your wealthy? Or, cut spending somewhere else, because you literally cannot cut more spending out of education, which I think is a terrible thing to do anyway. So it's not that situation. It's a situation where you're trying to prevent the spread of a very highly contagious virus that targets people who, and targets people's lungs. It's a respiratory disease, and it kills a lot of people, especially those over age 65 and people with underlying conditions. And look, it can even kill young, seemingly healthy people as well. And so this is a dangerous virus. And so you want people to stay home. And the states have done the responsible thing. And now they're getting punished by the federal government not stepping up to help them. And so that's a big, big problem, right? So now notice again that Mitch McConnell says for the states, let them fail. But for the corporations, we have to save our beloved corporations. We must bail them out with taxpayer money. Again, that's exactly what they did. There was a $2 trillion stimulus bill. Part of that bill was a bailout fund for large corporations that could be leveraged about 10 times, leading to trillions of dollars in possible grants for these corporations. And we don't know what corporations are actually getting the bailout money, for one, because there's lack of transparency. And for two, we're not going to know for quite some time who got the bailout and how much. Problems, big problems, right? But that's what Mitch McConnell signed off on. And he's like, yes, bail out the corporations. So now Nikki Haley comes in, and this is where she comes in on a social media post, and she says, states should always plan for a rainy day just like any business. I disagree that states should take federal money or be bailed out. This will lead to taxpayers paying for mismanagement or poorly run states. States need to tighten up, make some cuts, and manage. Right. Yes, just like any business. Oh, wait, states aren't businesses. I mean, the biggest piece of evidence I have against states being businesses is the fact that Mitch McConnell hasn't bailed them out. Literally doing the opposite of what he's done for every other business. Come on, man. Look, this is absurd on its face. Corporations did get billions of dollars worth of bailouts. And that's on top of gigantic tax cuts. And yet nobody is telling them, the corporations, to tighten up. They tell small businesses, hey, look, we set up a bailout fund for you, but we're out of money now, and we're not really going to fund it anymore. I mean, we're working on something, maybe, but generally we're really not going to bail anybody out at this point because my donors, they already got theirs. So sad day for you. Turns out some companies, by the way, big corporations, got some of that bailout money meant for small businesses, for actual small businesses, like Ruth Chris Steakhouse, for example. Yeah, big problem, right? But okay, these corporations, they did not plan for a rainy day. You know what they did? As we've reported here in the show before, they spent billions of dollars buying back their own stocks. Oh, but rainy day. In the states should go bankrupt. Okay, projection, right? So here's the other thing. Nikki Haley is not really one to talk about bailouts. Her state of South Carolina is one of the biggest beneficiaries of federal funding, as it receives an average of just over $5,000 in federal aid per resident. That is the 12th highest per capita amount of America's 50 states. So, don't spare me on that. It's ridiculous. She got, of course, savaged on Twitter with people pointing out that businesses did get bailout and individuals did get money, stimulus money, that $1,200 check. But firefighters and police officers, people who are essential, who are still working, well, they're not getting bailed out. These are the people that are going to end up losing their jobs when the states go bankrupt because they don't have money to keep those essential services flowing. And so Ben Yellen basically says that and says, you're a ghoul. Absolutely right. Michael Tesserini says, you already bailed out Wall Street. Why not leave the teachers and firefighters twisting in the wind? Exactly. Every billionaire is a policy failure. I love that. Saying, do you disagree with giving money to businesses right now, as the president and Senate are doing? Should they have saved for this rainy day? Should they have, gotten up their bootstraps? Tom T says, preach, Nikki. This taxpayer here would only like to pay for the mismanagement of poorly run corporations that will spend their money on executive bonuses. Those paramedics, firefighters, and state services have had it too easy. Doug Bernstein points out, South Carolina actually receives $7.87 back from Washington for every $1 its citizens pay in federal taxes. So who's the welfare queens, right? Who are the ones getting bailed out all the time? Oh, right. It's the terrible politicians in South Carolina. Another user points out that this is why Republicans should never be put in charge of anything ever again, and says that governments are not businesses, nor should they be run like businesses, simply because they're not. And if you're going around saying, no, government's a business, should be run like a business, you're an idiot. You have no idea how a state and a business is supposed to run. Insane. There was somebody, by the way, who supported Nikki Haley. I'm assuming somebody is conservative. That says, wow, I totally cannot believe I ever supported you and thought you would be a good president one day. Wow. And then, again, one more person here. Molly Knight says, you failed to plan for a literal rainy day, and we're happy to take the federal government's money. It's true. It's always about hypocrisy with these Republicans. Big federal money for me in my state, but not for you. You should be more responsible. Bootstraps. All right, Nikki Haley, where's your bootstraps? Oh, right. There are different rules for her because she's a Republican, because she's in power. Big business. Look, big business always gets a bailout. And you know why? It's because they write the checks. Regular people, however, who rely on state unemployment benefits, those are going to run out. Now, there's a federal benefit of $600, right? But there are also state benefits. Those state benefits will run out because they're funded by the states. Not only that, but you have food stamps administered by, the federal government. So I believe they'll still have food stamps, but you'll have, any program that is administered and funded mainly by the state is going to go away. That's going to stop if the state goes bankrupt. That's a problem. And understand, though, that there's a reason for this. There's a reason that Mitch McConnell is fine with having the states go bankrupt. Would rather have them go bankrupt. It's because he wants the states to get to open up before they were ready to open up. He wants those states to open up so that people can get back to work, and he can kick all those people off of unemployment benefits. And that's it. So now you have a situation where you have two choices. You get back to work, or, you get your people back to work by opening up the state and endangering them, or you go bankrupt, which also will cause thousands, tens of thousands of people to possibly go hungry. That's the situation that they have set up now, that the Republicans, they're tired of this. They want people to go back to work, to make money for their donors, and also to kick people off of government benefits because we don't want them on there for too long. Not long enough, certainly, to wait, to wait this entire thing out. It's more social Darwinism, and it's basically setting up the Hunger Games. And here's people like Nikki Haley cheering it on. Absolutely gross. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Please consider becoming a patron, helping us get to 400 patrons by the end of the month. Again, we're doing a patron drive. Ultimate goal, I'd like to get to 1,000 at some point. So we're going to keep rolling that Patreon thing so that this show can be sustainable and not have to worry about ads and not have to worry about any of that stuff, just to be sustainable. And ultimately, of course, to have me represent you guys, to be, representative of you, because you guys will fund the show. All right. So that's it. Thank you guys. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you guys later.
Mike Pounds.
Please clap.
Why, you're getting nervous, man.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.